So recently the car threw a code which is P0171, I think system 2 lean. So plan of attack for that is to find a leak somewhere, vacuum leak. And what I'm going to be doing is taking off this bumper here, because I need to take off that catch can or air oil separator anyway. And then if it's not a vacuum leak, then it might be an exhaust leak. So I'm going to go back to the header and see if I can find the leak there or not. Finally got that bumper out. There's a couple of weird things that I found here. Bolts are kind of missing on the lip here, which is kind of weird. I mean, they're not really expensive bolts, but if you lost them, might as well buy new ones. But anyway, clips are also weird here. I'm not sure if they changed the clip types on the 2015 and up, but they were really hard to take off. They're not like the usual, I guess, my car clips. And then finally getting into here, here's the what ifs that I'm looking at. So I took off the air filter here coming through the supercharger, and as I noticed, there's a lot of oil residue in there. You guys can see that. So that's not a really good sign. So what I'm thinking is, I also looked at the air oil separator hose right over here, and there's also sludge on where it goes in, which is not a good thing. So what I'm thinking, oh, also in the coupler here, you guys can see there's oil there. Not something you would want to see. So what I'm thinking is that previous owner probably didn't drain this catch can thing, because it's not the self-service one. You do have to drain it from the bottom, as you guys can see right. Can I get it there? So you have to drain that, and they probably haven't done that since they drove it from Florida, right? That's a couple thousand miles there. So I need to see, I need to drain that first to make sure that there's not any other problems here. But hopefully, as you run this car, it should be able to clean it off. So I'm curious to see what's going to be inside that air oil separator. If it's like smudgy oil, that means it's kind of old, but hopefully it's newish oil and they haven't just changed it in a while. Because if they haven't changed it at all, maybe they assume that it's kind of just there as I guess, if I don't know, they assume that they don't have to change it, and that's kind of bad, because that oil, it's kind of jelly in there. It seems old. Maybe just the cold, but hopefully we'll see. So to take that off, I do have to take off the battery, which sucks, because I need to unplug it and I'll reset the ECU, because I am trying to smog this, and currently it doesn't have registration, it doesn't have insurance, so kind of a challenge to drive this around to get those system checks for emission to be okay. So that's the plan there. I'm going to take off that air oil separator, see what's inside, and basically put back all the PCV hoses back to stock here, and you get the right diameter so that they're kind of just, you know, run stock. Because I am still planning to smog this car with the supercharger on, but right now it's really tempting to not to, because it's probably easier to take off everything now, but still, see how it goes. Alright, so finally got that air oil separator out. Now to see how much or how bad or what's even inside it. Go ahead and use this cap here. I can't open it. Hold up. Gonna use this cap thing here. So here it is. It is a 19mm for this thing here. Here we go. Oh man, I don't know what that sludge is, but it looks disgusting. So probably means something then, that this thing hasn't been changed in a while, which is, yeah, look at that. It's nasty sludge. So I guess then the next step is to kind of clean up the system. I'm not sure if there's any additives you could use to clean up the oil in the intake and charge pipe. That's gonna be what I have to do. You guys can see the reservoir on this is not a lot, right? So it seems like it's filled, unless there's a bunch of junk in there that I need to check too, but I guess I'm gonna do that before I put it in my car. So the plan is to put this on the BRZ. But as for now, not looking too good in this air oil separator thing. Keep you guys updated. Alright, so here's the sludge that I collected. I'm gonna go ahead and pour my used oil container thing for recycling later. But also don't use this kind of cap from, I don't know, any like these, because just notice there's a hole in the bottom and it started leaking. But yeah, let's see how this sludge looks like. Ooh, smells like chocolate milk. Again, more chunks. Hopefully that's not metal flakes. Right. But yeah, ooh, disgusting. Right. As for that, I'm gonna go ahead and see and look around if I can open that up without needing to buy another gasket of some sort to seal it up. Because usually gaskets like that are either worn out, and when you disassemble them, they get all messed up. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna take that apart, clean it up before I put it in my other car. Also, one thing to note is that none of these lines were clamped in place, which is weird. So if you wanted to prioritize like reliability or, you know, things coming off, a simple clamp probably helped in that area. I'm not sure if that's what's causing the backing leak. I still need to look for that, but since this is out, it's a good thing to know. Maybe it doesn't need clamps, but just clamp it up just for peace sake of mine. Right? Also, install video coming up on this one. Got all the shebangs on it. Got the cam plate stuff, so it's basically going to be service free. Some people just install like a Fumoto valve in the bottom, so they can just open it whenever they drain it. But gotta have the best for the BRZ. Got this here. So look at that quality though. Ooh, here's. Also got the coolant kit thing. This does come with a line, I think, for the coolant back there, just to help separate the oil better, because it warms it up and kind of, I don't know what's called, distilled it or not distilled it, take it out from condensation. I don't know, I probably butchered all those words, but yeah, got everything, the kit in there. Install video coming up on that for sure.
2 hours later.
Alright you guys, so I might have messed this up a little too much, so you guys can see there. So I got everything back together, the battery, the PCV valves and stuff. This was originally in there, those were in too, and I noticed that the car was hesitating to idle, so it wasn't a clear indication of what was wrong with it. But the big indication, I didn't get it on video, and I don't want to do it again, is that this whole garage was filled with smoke, white smoke. And then I guess I had the instinct to kind of take off the manifold or see what's going on, because that much smoke, it also smelled like oil. So I was thinking, was it, you know, taking in oil from the supercharger and bringing it back down the charge pipe and into the intake manifold. And as soon as I took this all off, a bunch, and I mean a lot of oil came out of there, which is something you guys will never want to see happen. That's because I have oil. Let me turn on the flash. Everywhere inside that intake manifold. You guys see the smoke there, and it's really bad. It just kind of just poured down here, there, and try to clean up best I could, so you guys can see those the charge pipe from here coming down here all the way down here was filled with oil. So I guess it was going backwards that way, so it gives me some hope now. Oddly enough, I googled my manifold or intake manifold was flooded with oil, and a search came up on FT86 forums. Another guy did the same thing. So what I'm assuming is, hopefully this is the problem is the PCV valve. So when I was taking this off, I didn't change the PCV valve thing down there from what it was originally from. It's still, I'm not sure if that's even the Verus or not, because blowing and sucking on this, it should be somewhat of a check valve, but this one is kind of just a straight pass through, which is probably what was happening. So it was letting oil kind of, this is like here, I'm not too sure what it is, but there's a bunch of oil in there, and we're probably sucking it up here, which is what was happening, I think. But either way, that's a lot of oil in intake manifold, so it's gonna be a little bit of setback. I wanted to get this thing running, and just because of that, kind of depressing, I'm probably just gonna straight up take the supercharger off. Supercharger is fine though, and I noticed there's no oil really coming in here, so it's not, this thing is not leaking, but rather I messed up on the PCV valve situation here. Hopefully that's the problem, I don't do it again, because that would suck, but I'm gonna double check everything. I don't think it was coming from here, because then there would be oil by the charge or the air filter coming in here, but there's no oil there now. So it's gonna be a lot more work. So to save this engine, at least, first thing I'm gonna do is take off the intake manifold and then clean it up from there, suck up all the oil I need to get, and we'll see how it goes. And just as a precaution, I guess I read online too, people usually take out the spark plugs, which is hell in this car. So I can crank over the engine manually using the crank pulley there and see if I can get the oil out, because it was running when I turned it off, so hopefully it hasn't hydro locked yet. But the reason why the car would hydro lock is because oil is not compressible, and when you try to compress fluid, right, you can't, and rods usually bend that way. So given that the I guess it's still a lot of force, but given that the RPM range is around the idle range, I'm not sure. Hopefully, a big hopefully, that this engine would still be okay. But if not, hey, that's another series, I guess. Engine swapping, huh? Who knows? But yeah, let's see how it goes. Alright, you guys, so I'm just gonna make this a challenge for me. It's gonna be one of those moments where I'm just gonna kind of wrench everything out as fast as I can. After that, I'll let you guys know if the engine survived or not. Here we go. Quick little update, this left side is already, or I guess right side if you're looking at it in the front, is already loose. As you guys can see, not too bad. So the rec injector module off, shield off. I'm gonna have to take off these fuel lines, probably harness off, and then 3 bolts here, one there, one there, one there. This thing's already loose, so I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. So here we go, more wrenching. Alright, so I think I'm just going to take off the fuel injector rails themselves. Easy enough, 2 bolts in there. Because I kind of tried and I don't want to risk damaging any other wiring harness or whatnot. So what I'm going to be doing is just take them off that way. The other side too. So it's less problematic probably. As far as the fuel, usually you want to crank it up to kind of use up or relieve the fuel pressure. But in this case, I can't really crank it. If I crank it, risk hydro locking if it's not already hydro locked the engine, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. It's pure fuel coming out of my face, so make sure you wear protective goggles and a bunch of paper towels or rags, and don't smoke. this is what it looks like. As you guys can see, those intake valves are filled with oil, which is not a really good sign. Also a puddle right there. So I'm still not sure if it's really coming from that valve, because I hate to assemble everything and then change that out and it happens again. So I need to look into that a little bit more, because as it is right now, that's a pass-through valve, so it's not a check valve, which is weird. Or I'm not sure, because that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if it's even coming from that. It's not coming from this here, I think, because I mean, this thing is dry as heck. So then again, it's pushing out air that way. I'm not sure anymore, but I'm gonna double check that. And what's worse is that one over there. So actually, that's not the worst, because I can suck that up. But what's bad is this one doesn't have any oil in it, because it's partially open. Yeah, you can see right there. Oh man, so it is open, so that means that oil, whatever that thing is in there. So hopefully if I crank that, it'll open the exhaust valve in the bottom and the oil will seep through, granted that the engine is not seized. So I guess you guys are here to find that out. So don't be stupid. And yeah, I'm thinking it's that valve there, but man, this really sucks. So I'm gonna go ahead and suck that out with my bleeder or brake bleeding kit. And we shall see how much we can collect out of those.